Okay, so we've learned how to create a box, modify a box, and then very quickly, before I forget again, let me show you how to rename that box. Select it. Okay, so select a move tool. See, it's got a name over here. Now I should be able to give it a name, and say in this case it's base house. Oh, I don't know, it's just a box. So you can just give it a name that makes sense. And this is my recommendation on naming things. Give them complex names based on simple words that relate to the system that they're a part of. And I didn't do that here. So for instance, say what I was working on, say this is a brick in the wall. And it's going to be part of a wall. And I only have one wall in my, I don't need to give it a number. But if I had multiple walls, I might. So wall, brick, 01. And that will help me identify what it is once I have a million bricks in my wall. And I'll know because they'll be sequentially named. Because if I copy this, if I duplicate this box, and that is called cloning, and we'll talk about this in a minute. Just for now, we're just going to say copy. Okay. And so I have 2. You see how it renamed it to be, I'll give it another 0 in there. Okay, let's give it another 0. I might have 100 bricks in my wall. Okay. And so I now have 2 bricks in my wall. And if I come over here, the name is wall brick 001, wall brick 002. Now, what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to organize my objects by what they're a part of, the system they're a part of. Generally, that's how we organize things in our heads. You look at the system and then you look at its parts. So if you're giving it a name that's part of the system first and then identifying what it is, it makes it a whole lot easier. So you haven't worked on this project in a month, and you're coming back to it and you're working on something, and you've lost the random numbers that it gives it when it generates the box, and you need to orient yourself, or you've taken over a project from someone else. You know, I'll tell you, that has happened to me more than once in my career, where someone left or got sick or promoted or something happened, and I inherited a project from someone else. And I have to tell you, it's so important to organize your drawings. Not only for yourself, for other people, but for time management. It's really important. It takes less time to do what I just showed you than it does to try to fix a mess later on. I had worked for this one firm, and I went in, and the person who had used the machine before me had moved to a different machine, and they had given me something to work on to finish up that she had started, and she literally had saved everything in the same place, which was just on the hard drive, which slowed down the machine, and she called everything number 1, number 2, wall detail, wall detail A, wall detail B. It took me hours to try to find things. And you'll end up doing that to yourself if you don't organize stuff. So it takes just a few seconds to create folders and subfolders and name things this way. But it is so important to saving yourself time in the long run. And ultimately, because we are a deadline-intensive industry, time matters. Okay, so back to this. Okay, so I'm gonna delete my second box because I don't need it right now. Okay, so we have this box that we have created, and we are going to apply a modifier to it. Okay, modifiers are on. All right, so we have our Create tab and our Modify tab, and we went to our Modify tab to make adjustments to the parameters of the box. We can go further. right here you have something called modify list, right? The box is highlighted here in blue, and right above that it says modify list. If I click on that and I pull that down, you're going to see there's a whole list of modifiers. And a modifier is something you add to an object to do additional things to it. For instance, if I come under the object space modifiers, we're going to start there, and I come down to bend, you see it's given me bend parameters. And what's happened is it says box here, and I can still go back to my box and edit it, which is a really beautiful thing about 3D Studio Max. I can go back and continue to make changes to that box even after I've modified it with modifiers. Modifiers are, they're filters in a way. They're physical filters. So the modifiers that I add are going to stack over the object, over the primitive. So up here it says bend, and you're going to see to the left of that is an eye, which turns it on and off, and an down arrow that allows you to make adjustments to its gizmo. So its gizmo is its control center in the same way that the gizmo for the box is its control center. I'm going to scroll this up for now. Okay, so under bend, when I'm on bend, when bend is highlighted in blue, not box, but bend, my modifier, I get different parameters. And this is one of the difficult things about 3D Studio Max initially, is how you can't see everything. It only shows you, it limits you or restricts you to the parameters of the object you're on or the modifier you're on. And if you need to do something else, you have to be very cognizant of where it is that you have, what it is you have selected. Sorry, that is now the litter box in the corner making noise. I apologize. The cats never use that litter box, except when I'm making videos. Okay, so under parameters, it'll be quiet in a second. Under parameters, you're going to see bend has different things you can add. Angle, direction, axis, limits. The angle, all right, first of all, I'm going to increase the angle, and you're going to see what happens to my box is not bending at all. It's skewing. Let me add a little bit more angle just to be clear on this. Okay, so you see it is not bending. The bend is the orange. Here's why. If I go back under box, you see my length segment, my width segment, and my height segments are all one. Now, watch what happens when I begin to add height segments. Well, now it's bending. You want to use as few segments as absolutely necessary to give the illusion of a bend. It's an illusion. Okay? That is a straight line between that point, and it will remain a straight line. The illusion is, with our eye, if you put enough segments of lines together in a curving manner, our eye will read it as a curve. And you can see on the, whoops, I thought I was clicked on the other one. There we go. You can see it looks like it's curved. So you just want enough segments. Usually it's around 12. Whoops, that went to 14. Okay, usually it's around 12 when you can get pretty close to it and it still looks like it's rounded out. Okay, so back to bend. Angle is how much it's rotating from its pivot point. Direction is whether it's bend from one side to the other. So if you didn't want it to bend in this direction, by changing the direction, you see how I can get it to bend, and that would need to be exactly 90 degrees to create a clean, clear. Type that in. You can type numbers in. So there's different ways to adjust your parameter numbers. You can click on the button. You can hold and drag it and scroll up or scroll down. Or you can just type in a number, an exact number. The bend axis is the axis about which it bends. Right now it's bending about the Z axis. There it's bending about the X. And again, I don't have enough segments for this to bend properly. So when I increase my segments, now it's bending. And you can bend it about the Y axis. And then you can limit how much it bends. You can limit the effect, which that didn't help. And that allows you to, let's see, reduce how much you're bending it. It works better with a straw. Doesn't work. There we go. You can see it is reducing. If you look in this view right here, you can see how it's reducing where it bends from. I'm just going to take that off. Okay. So that is a modifier. Now, the great thing about this is I can add as many modifiers as I want, and I can stack them. So say the next thing I want to do is add twist. I'm going to increase the twist. And it will twist my object after it's bent it. Order matters. If I bring the twist down below the bend, I'll get a different object because it'll twist then bend. Whoops, I'll just knock that over. So you can keep going and going and going, but know that the order matters and how you stack them matters. Okay? So we're going to stop this video here and continue in the next video.